Hi, I'm Andy Villamarzo with SBLive Sports Florida, and thank you for joining us for episode 19 of the Coastal. It's our high school football podcast, and you might be looking around like, where's the guest? Well, don't have one, not this week, and that is because it's just going to be me talking playoff football. It's coming up a couple weeks left in the regular season, and we got to start going over this stuff. We've been talking about the regular season, some of the things that have surprised us, some of the things that have kind of just happened that were unexpected, and kind of just the teams that are doing same old things, but coming up on the postseason, and we got to start to get an idea of who are the teams that are leading the regions, and what are some of the matchups we could possibly expect, and taking a look at the potential brackets. I'm going to use quotations there because there isn't any official ones. We'll get that at the weekend after the final slate of games on November 3rd. That week, the FHSAA will have a kind of a playoff preview show showing all the official seedings and everything. I know last year it was on a Sunday, right before the NFL kicked off their game, so probably will be that again. I don't have any official word on if it'll be the same case, but that would be November 5th if that is the case. So stay tuned for if that is in case the date. But we're going to jump right into it, and we're going to start off at the highest classifications and then work our way down. And we jump right into 4M where I look at this Region 1 here, and it's all about the District of Death with Lake Mary, Apopka, Seminole. These teams have been battling it out. You got Mandarin in there, and some of the matchups that jump out at you potentially in round one. This is all potential, so let's slow our roll. You got potentially Boone at Lake Mary, Popka at Mandarin, Evans at Winter Park, Haggerty at Seminole. I mean, matchup that jumps out at me out of those four, Popka, Mandarin. Obviously, the Blue Darters were in the state championship in Class 4M last year. Obviously, taking a step back. They lost a lot of talent from last year. Younger at a lot of positions. Ty Davidson, the really talented sophomore quarterback, he's been out for some extended periods of time. I know he's been playing the last couple of weeks, but they just haven't been themselves. And Mandarin, just a team just chock full of talent. And I mean, you got to think the Mustangs, if they get past this round, they really could compete with anybody in this region. But you want a confidence builder. You beat a Popka. That's a team that's been in the state championship game so many times before. You got to look at that matchup. That's what stands out. But the team that has kind of separated themselves from the bunch and maybe in the classification, Lake Mary behind Noah Grubbs, the talented sophomore. This kid he's been on a historic pace touchdowns wise, and he's got the Rams rolling. And I don't want to just jump out and say, hey, this could be a team we're looking at states come time at Tallahassee. But hey, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Lake Mary Rams there at Bragg Stadium facing off against. I mean, I'm not going to say who, but Lake Mary is a team that's definitely turned some heads all throughout the year, and they've been playing really good football. Moving into Region 2, more of your Tampa Bay area / Orlando. You got Sumner right there holding that number one spot. They would potentially go up against Alonso, Olympia, Dr. Phillips. Could already see all the fireworks for that one. You got Palm Harbor University at Plant. The Panthers, they keep trending upwards. They want to be back at that state championship level. I know Coach Hank Brown over there down in South is really excited about this team, and I know next year's team he's really pumped up about. So we'll see. And then you got Durant at Riverview, and these games, Dr. Phillips at Olympia, right? That to me, that one just stands out amongst those four. To me, you got two teams that are really offensive minded. You got to think Dr. Phillips and Lake Mary played a game that I think had over 120 points earlier in the year. Juan Ganeas, the quarterback for the Titans, saw that kid last year in the postseason. Really big, imposing quarterback at the for the Titans. 6'5", about I want to say 230 pounds. Looks like he could play collegiately right now. That game could be one that you could see over 100 points combined. So, interesting one there. Moving to Region 3, Palm Beach Lakes at Palm Beach Central. You got Palm Beach Gardens against Jupiter, Santa Lucis, Boca Raton, and Spanish River Monarch. I don't know if any of them really jump out at me, but Palm Beach Central. I know I said I don't want to put another team up against another team in this classification, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and every time we go over classification, I'll give my early prediction of who will match up at states. And I could really see Palm Beach Central playing Lake Mary for it all. These two teams have been playing really well all season long. And the Broncos last year just narrowly fell to Popka at home. It was a crushing loss, but hey, they're looking to get that get back, and no better time to do it than this year because Popka's a little down. Go down to Region 4, and you got Goldman at Columbus, Cypress Bay, West Broward, South Dade, Western, and Doral Academy, Miami Palmetto. This region is I don't want to say that there's an actual favorite because at the beginning of the year, I think we all would have said the Columbus Explorers would win this region. No really ifs, ands, buts about it because they won it last year, brought back a lot of talent. Obviously, Alberto Mendoza, James Madison commitment. He played really well last year. This year, it's been concerns about the run game. I got to see this team against Homestead in their one loss this season, or actually they have two now, but it was their first loss, and just turnovers, lack of a run game, inability to stop the run against an elite team in the Broncos, and you just got to wonder, can Columbus repeat last year? I don't think they. I don't want to drop out and say they can't. They're obviously battle tested. They've been there, done that. But you got a Western team that is rising. Miami Palmetto is another one that is really full of talent. They actually beat Homestead. So to me, that really kind of, if you're Columbus, you're like, that's a team that beat Homestead. We've lost to them. I know it's that all that goes out the window once you face each other, but kind of something to think about. Jumping to Class 3M, got Wekiva at Edgewater. A lot going on over there at Wekiva. They've moved on from their head coach towards the end, but Edgewater, everything's going fine and dandy there. Orlando Jones at Oviedo, got Fletcher at Tampa Bay Tech, Wharton at Armwood. I'm going to say Wharton at Armwood to me seems like a really fun matchup just because I have seen Wharton, haven't gotten to see Armwood, but Wharton, I know, despite their record, because they're right around 500. So you'd look at them and say, this one-loss Hawks team, they're going to give them a run for their money. They could. They have the firepower. They got defensive stalwarts. Miami commitment, Booker Pickett, obviously, there on that defensive line. He's a stud. They got a bunch of studs around him as well. Not going to go and say upset at all, but it's an interesting region quarterfinal matchup. And then if we're going beyond this, I mean, we just can only hope you can get an Armwood Edgewater, or maybe somehow you get like a, I don't know, Tampa Bay Tech Edgewater matchup. Never know. Jumping to Region 2, and this is where I think a lot of people, they look at like Jesuit early on. What Jesuit, you had the loss to Columbus, you lost to Treasure Coast pretty badly. I think we all wrote them off, including myself. And all the Tigers have done is go ahead and start beating some teams that I think we've all been pretty high on. Beat Armwood, Bishop Verot, Tampa Bay Tech. Now, Jesuit stock has risen. Now we're looking at the Tigers like I'm not going to jump and say Jesuits back, like they're going to win the state championship. But the Tigers can make it a little bit more interesting in that state semifinal round, because I feel pretty confident they can get out of this region, because they would face off against Gaither in the opening round, which that would be a tough matchup because those teams do match up well. You got East Bay, St. Petersburg, Northeast Hillsborough, Pinellas Park, Largo. There's no disrespect towards any of those teams. It's just Jesuit really would be the class of the region. It'd be actually kind of really a letdown on Jesuit's part if they didn't get out of the region. So we will see. Region 3, Piper at St. Thomas Aquinas, Dillard at Blanchili, got Plantation, Coconut Creek, Seminole Ridge, Atlantic. You just got to roll with Aquinas. Obviously, Coconut Creek, though, is going to make things interesting, even at the 3 seed. I know Atlantic's been pretty good this year, but I look back at that one-score game against Chaminade Madonna, and you got to give the Cougars, you got to give them credit, and you got to respect them, as they're going to be somebody that's going to be able to hold their own against the Raiders. But as we know throughout this season, we won't talk about a certain game against Coco for St. Thomas Aquinas, but it is tough to play at their field. So we will see. If Coconut Creek's got to go play Aquinas there, this is kind of a don't know. Region 4. Speaking of Homestead, they'd be facing off against Balin Jesuit, and then you got Miramar, Halea, Americans at Southridge, and Everglades at South Broward. This is one of those regions, again, where, to me, one team stands out. It's kind of like Region 2 with Jesuit. Homestead, to me, I feel like big letdown if they didn't take this one. I know it's Ronnie Thornton's first year as a head coach. He's starting to figure it out as he's, kind of grown with this football team, and he already had some pretty good pieces. I mean, when you got Joshua Townsend at quarterback, you got Louisville commit Isaac Brown. I mean, you got some pieces. So, I'd be remiss not to mention Cortez Mills. I mean, he's stud. All right, we're going to jump to Class 2M, and we're going to roll through these classifications because I only have so much time to talk about all this, right? So, Region 1, we got Pips. You know what? I always mess it up. We're just going to call them IP School at Rains. We got Bowles against Bishop Kenny, Ed White at Riverside, Andrew Jackson at Bishop Moore. Historically, the Bowles Bulldogs would be the team we would really you'd say they're going to make it out of this region. But this is not your everyday Bowles team. This team has lost a few games, and that's plural. They've lost more than 3, and they've all been close. But the Bulldogs haven't been able to really find that consistency throughout the year. They haven't been able to be that team that we would remember, of the late Corky Rogers. This team under Matt Toblin has a talent. You just feel like something's missing. Not quite sure what, but they could play with anyone, but it's almost like you feel like they could lose anybody. That does have some talent, mind you. So that matchup with Bishop Kenny definitely is a interesting one right off the bat in the region quarterfinal. To say anybody, to me, really, it could be anyone's game here. Reigns, obviously, the Vikings playing really well this year. You can't count out the Crusaders. I just mentioned Bishop Kenny, Riverside, Ed White, Bishop Moore. Even it Region 1. I don't want to pick a winner. I'm just gonna say, get your popcorn on that one. Region 2 got Boca Ciega, Calvary Christian, Blake, Robinson, Tampa Catholic, Clearwater, Middleton, Berkeley Prep. This is another one. This is another quagmire when we're talking about who stands out in this region. Calvary Christian, I wanna I wanna go all in on them. I wanna say the Warriors will win this region. They were close last year. They ended up losing to Lakewood. Um, this time around, I mean, it's just really hard for me to say, hey, this is going to be the team because you look at Tampa Catholic still has some dudes. All right, TJ Moore, Clemson commit at wide receiver. You got Trey Headed, Furman commit. They got guys on that offense or defense that are studs. Even with some of the losses they had, heck, they just had a 51-48 loss Fort Myers. That was a bit surprising. Berkeley Prep, they've been they, to me they could be right there with Calvary Christian. So you look at this region two here. I mean, you want to go with Calvary Christian. You want to buy into what Reggie Kroom is selling over there off of Drew Street. But hey, I think it's going to be a knock them down, drag it out type of region. So region three, I think it clears up a little bit more. Got American Heritage of Delray Beach against American Heritage Plantation, Somerset Canyon against St. Andrews, Calvary Christian Fort Lauderdale against Kings Academy, and Stranahan against Cardinal Gibbons. If it comes down to that 1-2 matchup with Cardinal Gibbons and American Heritage, the Patriots have dominated this matchup as of late, especially this year. They matched up over at the Patriots' place, and they definitely made it their they made it be known this is our region and we're looking to get back to the state championship in Class 2M. And for all intents and purposes, Mike Smith has the crew to do it. He's got that trio of Diabell, Byron Lewis, Malachi Tony, and then there's a slew of other guys. Joe Frisaro down there in South Florida tells me all the time. John Santucci, my guy over at USA Today. These guys they just kind of rip off all these names, and that team is deep. It's going to lead me to talking about the next region, Region 4. You got Miami Edison against Norland, essentially Monsignor Pace against Gulliver Prep, St. Brennan, Miami Booker T. Washington, and then North Miami Beach against Miami Central would be the number 2 seed. You guys know the Dos Equis commercials, right? With most interesting man. Miami Central right now is like the most interesting team because they really, where they're at right now, it doesn't boggle my mind that they're where they're at in terms of some of the losses, because the teams they've lost to, I mean, you can't bat an eye at and go, oh, that's a bad loss. I mean, Bishop Gorman, Chaminade, Miami Norland, but these are all games they could have won. Like one score, one possession, could have won. Miami Central could still win Class 2M. Don't call me crazy. Just say that they still have all that talent over there off of, I think it's 95th Street. That's what it is. That's what they say, or at least that's what the Norland coaches were saying before the game, saying 95th Street, 95th Street. Well, hey, could see Central Norland Part 2, and if that is going on at Travis Powell, place should be a packed house. And I know that matchup where Norland beat them 29-26, went to overtime, got the game-winning field goal. There was some pushing and shoving between the coaches. Who knows next time around? You're going to have tensions running extremely high in that one. All right, we're going to go to Class 1M, and I think we can run through this because you got University Christian, Providence School, and Learning Christian Prep, Trinity Christian in Region 1. You want to buy Trinity Christian because you got Colin Hurley, LSU commitment at quarterback, but Conquerors have not been conquering. I mean, they've been good, but not what we're used to. To me, that is an open region. This one, a little bit more clear-cut in a sense, just because Clearwater Central Catholic in Region 2 has had Carrollwood Day's number. They would face Northside Christian, Carrollwood Day would. Clearwater Central Catholic would face Indian Rocks Christian. Sets up a Carrollwood Day CCC rematch from the regular season. Marauders won that, barely. Could see another good one in Clearwater. Region 3, we have Vanguard against Chaminade Madonna and Benjamin Cardinal Newman. Sorry, guys, Shamnod. And for just for the record, I think Shamnod's going to win it. Not that that's any kind of surprise. We've been talking about him all year. We talked him before the year. We're going to talk about him after the year's over, especially because we're going to lose some special players. Yeah, I mean, got to go with Shamnod in this one. So, and then Region 4 got Westminster Christian, True North Classical, Palmer Trinity, Archbishop Carroll. Gotta love True North Classical, Zach Katz. That kid's playing lights out at quarterback. But all roads are going to eventually run into, they would probably play Chaminade in a state semifinal. And, well, that won't be fun. All right, we're going to jump into Suburban. I might go a little bit more accelerated. Do know this region pretty good. Seen a lot of teams in Suburban. Not that I don't want to see teams in Metro and rural, but just end up seeing a lot more of these teams. I don't know why. But start off in Region 1, Creekside, Buchholz. Haven't seen these two teams, but heard a lot about the Bobcats, and it sounds like these guys are for real. They lost to Venice last year in a state semifinal barely. They're back. Got Miles Graham over there, Gator commit. These guys are playing really good football. Navarre at Bartram Trail, Pace at Niceville, Childs at Ponte Vedra. Don't sleep on the Sharks there. To potentially contend with Buchholz for that region. Niceville's another one. Coach Grant over there, Coach Thompson. He's got his guys playing really good football, and they got that legendary student section that you can't ignore. And I'm gonna get to see him. But you got to say this is Buchholz's region to lose, but that matchup Pace at Niceville, that's interesting. If this all stands, if this is what it's going to be, that'll be a good one. Region 2, Haines City at Lakeland, Lake Mineola at Bartow, Winter Haven at Springstead, Mitchell at Wiregrass Ranch. Firstly, your coach. Take off the glasses. So, Bill Castle finally on the sideline for the Dreadnoughts for the first time in like forever. And really, it's about 50 years. But the Dreadnoughts, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it on social media. It's all over. Everyone thinks the battleships are sinking. But they are still the number 1 seed in this region. They can win this region. It might come down to an old matchup that, not an old matchup. I said that like it's really old. But they could end up facing Wiregrass Ranch, who's a team that they've faced in the postseason like 2 or 3 times before, beat them each time soundly. Not sure it'd be just a cakewalk for them this time around. They do have that Luke Knight kid, Army commitment at quarterback. He's got some dudes on offense. Lakeland's got dudes on defense. Offense has been a continued work in progress, and at some point they gotta take the workers are on the street, and they gotta make it happen. They gotta run the paved way. So see if they can do it. We're gonna put the glasses back on. Go to Region 3. Just call them Toho at University, Vero Beach at DeLand, Spruce Creek at Heritage, New Smyrna Beach at Treasure Coast. To me, Treasure Coast and DeLand, I mean, those are the 2 teams in this region that have been playing really well all season long. Gotta love what Treasure Coast has been doing this season. DeLand as well. You knew Rick Darlington was going to have these guys playing better in year 2 under his watch, and they have. I mean, I don't know. Bulldogs and Titans possibly in a region final. I mean, interesting matchup to me is that Vero Beach at DeLand game. To me, that is the best region quarterfinal of those 4 just named. Region 4, Lakewood Ranch at Venice, Palmetto at Gulf Coast, Immokalee, Sarasota Riverview, and Charlotte at Manatee. Well, I've seen 2 of the 8 teams in this region. And you just, to me, Venice, even though they do have those losses against Cocoa and Armwood, and I know the one to Armwood was like, and then Cocoa, I mean, who can really get mad? at anyone for losing to Coco. I mean, these guys are the Tigers. I mean, we're not at Class 2S yet. We're about to, but they're probably going to win that classification. I know that's not something some teams want to hear, like Bishop Verot, but hey, Venice, to me, has a chance to right the wrongs from a year ago, even though Buchholz could be waiting there for a rematch and trying to get that get back. Well, in this region, hard to say exactly what would be the best match. I have to go 5-4, Palmetto at Gulf Coast. But we're looking down the line. You got to like Venice again, and you got to like Venice to have a shot at getting back to states and maybe winning it. So we'll see. Class 3S, Scambia at St. Augustine, Pine Forest, Matanzas, Columbia at Chocotawhatchee. I think I got that right. Middleburg at Lincoln. So many good matchups. Scambia at St. Augustine, even though that's an 8 out of 1, that's sneaky good. And Mike Bennett, I mean, dude's won state titles. He's got a talented team. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to walk into St. Augustine where that crowd is. I mean, I've heard, and you guys know me with fan bases. I want to see the best of them, and they got a good one. So I don't know. Scambia at St. Augustine, I would say that'd be the best one. I know Columbia and Chocotawhatchee is a rematch from the region final last year, but it's just not. It's not the same. It's not. All right. Region 2, River Ridge at Vanguard, Cypress Creek at Zephyr Hills, Auburndale, Leesburg, Gulf at Lake Wales. Well, River Ridge and Vanguard, that would be a repeat and a rematch from last year. I think it would end kind of similarly. Cypress Creek and Zephyr Hills, these are two teams that are in the same district together. So you got to like that to be a pretty good game. But Auburndale, Leesburg, you got to like what Stephen Moffat's been doing, the former UCF quarterback. He's got that like Deion Sanders about him, just like, got like my team, got the graphics going, pump these guys up. Auburndale, just the Bloodhounds doing what they do and winning games, only the one loss on the year. I like that. I like that matchup of them all. Region 3, Fort Pierce, Westwood at Mainland, Jensen Beach at Sebring, Satellite, Rockledge, Merritt Island, Ugali. Jensen Beach, Sebring, 5-4. I've seen Sebring, very talented defensive team. If anything else, those dudes down in Highlands County, yes, Highlands County, y'all play at Fireman's Field over there. It's gonna be, well, could be some hurting for the Falcons at Jensen Beach. So we'll see. I got to see him against Lake Wales. It was 7-0 Lake Wales against Sebring. So for somebody who does like seeing a lot of yards, touchdowns, it was a letdown. But you know what? Like what I saw at Sebring, they got some really tough players. Region 4 here in 3S, Mariner at Golden Gate. A lot of controversy going on over there. Barron Collier at Dunbar, Parish Community at Fort Myers, Port Charlotte at Naples. And that last matchup I said is the matchup in the region quarterfinal round. Because to me, potentially, and I know, Golden Eagles, just like every year, I think all of us are wondering, when are these guys going to do it? When is Rick Martin and these guys going to get to the state championship? Can they do it? I'm like, well, if they beat Port Charlotte, and these guys are good, I don't care that they're 7 seed. Heck, they could be the 8 seed. Coach Ingram, trying to get his last name out. He's got a really good team over there in Charlotte County. I mean, you got Ed Gruyere, Rutgers commit. You got Jamal Streeter, South Dakota commit, wide receiver. You got good quarterback play. You got really good defensive line play. I mean, you go down to Naples and win. If you're Port Charlotte, you might be writing yourself a ticket to the state semifinal. I'm just saying. Class 2S. We're going to jump into the classification that I said Coco's going to win. I know. Godby at Walton, Swanee at Pensacola Catholic, Mariana at Florida State High, South Walton, and Wakulla, Region 1. Well. I like that South Walton Wakulla matchup just because you're going to get really good quarterback play in that game. Carson Hawk, Hayden Cleese, these two have been playing really well this year for those two teams. Know those names well because every time I do a poll in the Panhandle and involves quarterbacks or offense, I feel like one of the two or maybe both are probably in that poll. So I don't know Wakulla's Big Bend, but I kind of fall into that Big Bend, Florida Panhandle region. So that to me is going to be a pretty good matchup. Region 2, Porter Orange Atlantic at Bradford, Eastside at Palatka, Baldwin at Baker County, and Keystone Heights at Yulee. Oh, man. I mean, some low-key good matchups. Eastside Palatka, though, I like that one a lot. Adrian Curtis, quarterback for the Rams. He's been putting up some really nice numbers this year. The Panthers, they've been playing really good football. I got to see them last year. Won't get to see them this year, I don't think. Maybe I will. Who knows? But they've been a team that's just kind of they keep on keeping on. I mean, they only have the one loss. I know they play Bradford here soon, so see what happens there. If they could beat them, that really would shake things up in that region. Region 3, Mount Dora at Cocoa, Denellen at Hudson, Palm Bay at Titusville, Nature Coast at South Sumter. Whoa. Denellen at Hudson, to me, would be the matchup in that region just because Hudson's just coming off their first loss against Wilson, which was I was at that game, over 500 and some change by Wilson. Talking about the ground game. And Hudson, I mean, for a 4 seed, you think that they might be able to pull this one off against Denellen, but Denellen's got some they got talent, the Tigers. They really predicate things offensively, running the football, and don't think a ton of defense is going to be involved here. Well, maybe. See, maybe Denellen. But I don't know. To me, that game's kind of a toss-up. Region 4, Mulberry at Bishop Row, Hardy, Lemon Bay, Sarasota, Booker, Stero, Frostproof, Fort Meade. That last matchup is the matchup in the region quarterfinal round of this region because actually in the regular season this game is played, and that is a small school game to go to. So you got to give that one the edge out of them all. But Bishop Row should be and is the favorite. When you got Carter Smith slinging the rock, I mean, can't really go wrong. 1S, and this is probably the most frustrating classification just because you feel like you got a read on a team in this classification, and then you realize you don't. Matt Clay, North Florida Christian, Monroe, St. John Paul II. I'd say North Florida Christian will win this region. Monroe, St. John Paul II, though,